Yeah, it doesn't want us allowed to do two of them at the same time. All right, well, we'll do that. Well, it is being recorded, so it's going to do it up on live. It looks like we have a couple of Linda Foley's. Is that true?
There were 2 Linda Foley's registered.
Oh, maybe her husband.
Hi, Linda. Can you want to unmute yourself so we can hear you just now? Make sure you're okay. She can't unmute herself.
Well, actually, we're going to start making them into the co-hosts as well, so they float up to the list.
Hello, now I'm unmuted. Hello.
Hey, hi,
Hi.
Linda.
So you're in twice
I'm in twice.
where you were.
I don't know how that's
Yes.
possible.
You actually registered twice also.
Yeah, I know that. Because I wasn't sure whether my registration counted. John, thank you for doing this.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. should we,
Can I
be
let
ready?
Larry Arch in?
Yeah, let Larry in.
Okay, hold on.
And any other candidate should be let in right now.
Mm-hmm. And we have Michael.
And somebody is just John. We don't know who that is.
Yeah, I didn't let John in.
We can ask see if John can
Yeah, can
rename
you
himself, right?
maybe send another message of,
Yeah, hold on one second.
I don't see Larry
Rosalind
on the list.
Mara and Roger Williams.
Yeah, that's Ginger. You let Roger Williams in, that's Ginger.
Roger Williams, what?
It's Ginger's husband.
Oh. So we can let him in?
Yeah, unless it's actually Roger. I'm pretty sure it's Ginger though, yeah. Just joking, yeah, let him in.
Okay, and Rosalind Mara is not on the list.
I don't see a Larry.
Yeah, Larry Arch is on the list.
I
He's
know, but
already
I don't
been
see him
admitted.
on the list here to admit him.
He's already been admitted.
Oh, I thought I was doing that top list, the top of the list.
Well, I started from the bottom and,
We're just
all
getting
right,
them
so I'm
all.
gonna send a message. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Okay, so how come I see Linda Foley and not Amy Frieder on my screen?
I'm here.
Why can't I see Amy? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you may need to put it into gallery.
Oh, okay, all right, I got it.
All right.
Okay.
Pat, you can let in Colin Richard and Joan Kleinman.
Mm-hmm. Rose Mera. Mhm.
You said yes to Roz Mara because I don't see her on the list.
She's a late registrant, but she is there.
Okay, and Dean Kaplan.
Can you,
He's on. I'll admit him.
Dean's
can
on
you,
the list.
He's on the list.
can you unmute Larry Arch?
Yeah, hold on, I have to find him. Oh, let's see.
All right, let's see who else we have up and running. So we have, Mr. Ali is still not present that I've been able to see. So
Hello.
Linda, Amy, Colin, and Michael.
we still don't know who John is, right?
Yeah,
So Michael, are you Leslie Schreier? Let's see.
No, I'm Michael. Leslie is my wife.
All right, let me try to see where your picture. There you are. Okay, hi.
I'm still waiting for Mr. Ali to join us. Meantime, just do a final check. Linda, are you able to speak? Can you give us a quick little mic check? We can see you. You're
Sure.
off mic.
testing, test.
Beautiful.
9876.
Amy, can you give us a quick little test again?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, that seems fine. Richard, I'm sorry, Colin, are you in there? You get him so he can talk. Let's see if we can.
Oh, it just worked now. Thank you.
All right, there we are. Thank you very much. All right, and last but not least, Michael. Sure,
I'm still here. Can you hear me now?
beautiful. All right.
Thank you. And then I see Sakib say could test his sound.
All right.
Roberts. I don't know who W. Roberts
Yeah,
is.
he's a caucus member, William Roberts.
Oh,
it's-
Robert.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that Mary Jane's husband?
No, we got two Roberts.
It's another Roberts.
Sakib, we'd like to actually see if we can hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
Now I can. I tried unmuting myself previously and it wouldn't unmute me.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I had some other people are trying to visit the registration page and get the link, and they're complaining that they haven't gotten the link. They just are going there right now.
Right,
And
there are
they're
people who
not.
have actually registered 3 minutes afterwards, so they're still just getting in. So we haven't seen
Okay.
them yet. We'll check on them.
So will they will get in. They will be able to get in.
Right, we're doing a check off the list right now. So I'll
Okay,
let them
cool.
in as.
Thank
as
you.
we-
that's true. I'll get till 7:20. So I don't touch it tonight. I'll touch it tomorrow.
and then-
It's 1 minute after 7, so we should be letting people in, right?
We are letting people
There
in.
are many people in here.
So Diamond is in there. Hussein. Yeah, we're still having people register as of right now, so we'll continue to let them in as people are checked off.
Right. Yeah, because like Harold Diamond, I don't see.
Is Harold Diamond registered?
And not on he's not on our list.
He's not in there yet.
What about Asif?
See if Hussein is not yet. Yep, he just came in. Yep, he's there.
Okay,
Paul Lee, yes.
okay, so we said. Did someone let John in? John was no last name.
I'm still not seeing a Harold Diamond as a registrant yet.
Did somebody let John in?
I don't see him in here anymore. I didn't let him in. What about Dan Meyer? Was he a late registrant?
Yes, he did. Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, actually he's in already. And
Oops.
there's still people registering. You just got 3 more in the last 30 seconds.
How many people do we have on the call now?
67.
Well, John, if you'd like to begin this, I can continue to watch anybody who comes in late. But I think we're in deference to our.
I can keep a watch on it.
Ready to go?
Yes, thank you, John.
Thank you. It's
All
all
right.
yours now, John.
Good evening. My name is John Keller. The Executive Committee of the District 15 Caucus asked me to moderate this panel, this forum, for the candidates who are running to replace Kathleen Dumais, who, as you well know, has been appointed to the judiciary judge. The Executive Committee consisting of Gail Cheat, who is the chair, Kathy Dukowski, the vice chair, Ginger Montgomery, the secretary, and Larry Arch, the treasurer, have been tasked by the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee to hold this forum for all candidates who are for this position. So let me just mention that this, as you probably know, this is being taped, being recorded, and everyone who is a registered participant will receive a copy of the tape in a timely fashion. On behalf of the D15 caucus, I would like to welcome all members of the public, all public officials, and especially a warm welcome to the 5 candidates. And those are Saqib Ali, Linda Foley, Amy Frieder, Colin Richard, and Michael Schreier. Those are the 5 people running for this position. The ground rules. This is a forum and not a debate. So what we are looking for is a civil dialogue. All questions were submitted ahead of time, and no questions will be taken from the chat. We will only be asking the questions that previously were submitted. We will get to as many questions as we can. In chat, please be respectful and civil, and do not comment about any of the candidates. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to respond to the question. At 1 minute and 50 seconds, I will ring the bell. Then at 2 minutes, hopefully politely, I will interrupt, because each one of you have 2 minutes to speak and answer it. Candidates should limit their responses to the questions and not make comments about other candidates or their positions. I hope I've been clear in explaining the rules of the game. Having said that, we're going to go through questions. I'm going to rotate through the 5 candidates alphabetically. We'll start with the first and go to the last, but then we'll rotate alphabetically. So the first question, as you all know, and this will go to Saqib and then the other 4, provide a brief introduction of who you are, why you are running for office, and why you believe you are the best candidate. Saqib, your time is starting.
Sure. My name is Saqib Ali. I live in North Potomac, Maryland. I'm a 46-year-old software engineer. I got my degrees at the University of Maryland. I'm a proud girl dad. I'm a former state representative, and I represented District 39 in the Maryland House of Delegates. I'm a very well-known progressive, and I've been living in Montgomery County for over 30 years and over 17 years in the same house. I believe that I'm the most accomplished and qualified candidate for this position because I've done the job before. If you send me to Annapolis, there's going to be no learning curve. I know how the work's done. I'm ready to go. I was the first Muslim elected official in all of Maryland in 2006 when I got elected. When I got there, I passed something called the Legislative Voting Sunshine Act, which made all our votes that are taken in Annapolis in committee on the internet, so everyone can see how your legislators are voting. So that's really important, and that changed the way Annapolis works. And after I left office, I didn't like disengage and sulk and go away. I stayed engaged. I'm the person who got the Montgomery County schools to treat Muslim holidays just like they already treated Christian and Jewish holidays by giving a day off for all kids. Now, I'm uniquely qualified amongst this list of this field because I'm the only one who's ever won an election for a public office. I'm the only one who served. I'm ready on day 1. And I'm the only one who declared an interest in this seat well before the vacancy came up. I've been running my campaign for 16, 17 months now. It's well funded, and I'm ready for the election in June. And I'm going to be running in June, regardless of what happens with this vacancy, but I do hope to get appointed. I'm the only one here with a track record of votes and co-sponsorships of progressive legislation, from marriage equality to banning smoking in workplaces and abolishing the death penalty. And I'm the only one here who's from an underrepresented minority group. And the Central Committee has always used the appointment process to fill inequities created by elections, to fix those demographic inequities. And I think they should just continue that tradition. They shouldn't make an exception for this particular.
Thank you very much. Your 2
Thank
minutes is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we will now go to Linda. Same question.
Hi. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Linda Foley, and I'm the chair of the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee. I've been chair for 2 years. I'm also in public office. I'm the elected representative for District 15 on the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee, and I've been doing that since 2018. I've lived in District 15 for 35 years, the first 14 in North Potomac, and the balance now in Potomac near Churchill High School, where I live. Before I begin, I do want to thank the caucus leaders for setting up this forum. And I also want to thank them for their incredible work as volunteers. Leading the caucus, Gail Cheek, Kathy Durkowski, Ginger McComber, and Larry Arch. It's really been an honor and a privilege to work with you, and I look forward to working with you far into the future. Thank you very much for your work here. As far as my work history, just very briefly, I was a national union leader. I was the first woman to be president of the News Guild CWA. I'm a journalist by trade. My life's work has been representing people and building coalitions to better their quality of life. And I want to bring those same skills for the residents of District 15 to Annapolis. I'm running for office because as the leader of the Democratic Party over the last couple of years, I've spoken to many, many residents, and I understand the needs, the unique needs that we have at this time coming out of the pandemic as we are. I have the skills to make District 15's voices heard. I've hosted dozens of town halls in District 15 and many more around Montgomery County, and I know the issues. I'm the best candidate because I'm a proven leader. I have been totally engaged with the residents of District 15 throughout my tenure as their elected representative on the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee. Together, we've achieved great things at the ballot box, and now I want to go forward and achieve great things in Annapolis. Thank you very much. And I look forward to talking about the issues.
Thank you. Next would be Colin. No, Amy, I'm sorry, Amy.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Frieder, and I am a lifelong Montgomery County resident who many of you know since I was a precinct official and then area coordinator for District 15 until recently. Or you may have met me on the campaign trail in 2018 when I ran for an open House of Delegates seat here in District 15, and despite the odds, finished as the runner-up in a competitive 9-way race. Since then, I have only stepped up my involvement, and I am ready to run again. The average age of a Maryland legislator is 54 years old, and baby boomers and Gen Xers are actually overrepresented. Meanwhile, millennials make up 22% of the state population, but they represent only 12% of the House of Delegates. Central committees, including the MCDCC, has worked to offset this through their appointments. For example, Delegate Janelle Wilkins, Delegate Jazz Lewis, Delegate Alonzo Washington, Delegate Carol Resnick, Delegate Lisa Bel Castro, most recently. Our House of Delegates would likely be even older on average if not for these appointments of young people. Additionally, very few LGBTQ people serve in the Maryland House of Delegates, and as someone who planned an advocacy day with the LGBTQ Democrats in Montgomery County, I understand how certain issues disproportionately affect LGBTQ people and how great it would be if we had more legislators who could help champion them. In 2018, the only LGBTQ members elected or re-elected in the House of Delegates were delegates Gabe Acevero, Bonnie Collison, Ann Kaiser, Luke Clippinger, and Maggie McIntosh, who we have just learned is retiring soon. There's nothing more I'd like to do than serve the community that has raised me and given me so much. I'm asking you today to support who the voters decided was the next best candidate and throw your vote behind someone who has a vested interest in making sure our community is friendly to future families and thrives for many decades to come. I have proven support in District 15, as we saw in the most recent election. And I think it would be fantastic if we stuck to what the voters have decided. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will go on to Colin.
Thank you. I'm Colin Richard. I live in North Potomac. I'm the father of 4, and this is a community that I care greatly about. The success of its businesses and schools and institutions are vitally important to me. My career is centered on understanding change and developing paths forward, whether in past experience researching financial inclusion efforts, experience working as an attorney in private practice and at technology companies, and in recent endeavors where I've been focused on Maryland economic policy. I'm applying for this vacancy because I'm very interested in helping to build a more equitable future Maryland economy. There's been several significant strategic achievements in the last few years. Infrastructure investment, the blueprint for Maryland's future, and ongoing efforts focused on the future economy, including a work group focused on transforming manufacturing in a digital economy. There's a lot of efforts that are significantly focused on some of these topics. And I think the next sessions of the General Assembly are going to be an opportunity to be present as we work together to help create this future economy. The second reason I've applied is because if appointed, I would not be running for this office in the primary. I believe that this is relevant for four particular reasons. The appointment process has continued to affect District 15 more than the other districts in the county. Following this appointment, 3 of the 4 members of the District 15 delegation will have been initially appointed to their current office, which is more than any other district. Second, this is the closest the next primary that this has occurred of any appointment in the current delegation. This will be less than 7 months before the next primary.
Colin, I'm sorry to interrupt. Your 2 minutes have expired. So we will now go on to Michael.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for taking your time out this evening. I'm Michael Schreier. I'm not a polished politician. I haven't held any office before, and I'm not on any committees or anything like that outside of voter protection. For the last 3 election cycles, I have participated with either at the presidential level or at the state level for voter protection. And I have, through my work doing voter protection, I've realized that democracy is not a spectator sport. And so sometimes you have to get in and just do it yourself. And so that's what I'm planning to do here. I've lived here in the same house here in District 15 for 25 years. I have 2 kids. They've both gone entirely through the MCPS system, graduating out of the Richard Montgomery IB program after many, many years in lots of different schools along the way. I have, I like to think that I'm the most qualified. You'll be the judge, but as a lawyer for a variety of downtown DC firms, I have experience across a wide range of industries, from IT to service companies to construction to housing, higher education, you name it. I've represented companies in all of these areas. Married with that, of course, is my background in unions. I started off my career as in-house counsel for the largest federal employee labor union, and then worked for the government for several years protecting workers' rights. So I bring sort of a unique perspective. I also, am a problem solver. Using my unique background, I got myself onto the American Arbitration Association's roster of arbitrators at a ridiculously young age because of my diverse background, where I hear disputes involving parties in a whole variety of industries. And I'm always amazed whenever I hear a case. It usually doesn't turn out the way I thought it was going to turn out after I hear the evidence and apply the law. That's the type of problem solving that I'd like to bring to District 15.
Michael, I'm sorry to say you 2 minutes goes very quickly.
Especially for a lawyer. I can't clear my throat less than 2 minutes. I apologize.
All right. Linda, we're going to start with you in this round. And the question is, what are your top 3 legislative priorities?
Okay, thank you. So my top 3 legislative priorities for this session. Number 1, we have an infrastructure bill that was just passed, the massive infrastructure bill that was just passed by Congress. And there's a lot of money out there. Between $10 and $12 billion is coming to Maryland. from this infrastructure bill. I think identifying where this money should be spent and what projects it should be spent on is going to be a major focus of this upcoming session. We need to get it identified early because we have, there's five-year implementation on this, and we need to get our plans together early. So I think that's going to be a big part of the session. That's an important priority for me. Also, assisting families, working families, and small businesses as we emerge from this pandemic. We're not done yet with the pandemic. There still are many issues that are out there that need to be addressed. And I think that there's a lot of work to do in Annapolis to help families recover from the pandemic and move forward with some semblance of normalcy. And then finally, my third priority is women's reproductive health and access to abortion care. We need to make sure that abortion care is protected. There are many things going on around the country with respect to abortions in Texas and Mississippi and other places. We know of those cases. And the Supreme Court is looking seriously at overturning Roe v. Wade. For us in Maryland, we do have access to women's reproductive health and rights to abortion care, but that could be jeopardized if Roe v. Wade is overturned. So we need to do some things to make sure that we ensure that women can access the health care that they need. If you would like to know other issues that I'm interested in, you can go to my website, foleyfor15.com. That's FOLEYFOR15.com. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Amy.
So as a delegate, my top 3 legislative priorities will be improving our democracy, passing policies that support working families like the one I hope to raise in Montgomery County, and protecting our environment. So for democratic reforms, I think it's unfair to the public that so many of our elected officials have started serving in the Maryland General Assembly as a result of this rushed process that favors the opinions of a few people on a committee, most of whom don't live in the district, rather than the voters of the district themselves. I think that if over 20% of our members of Congress were initially appointed rather than elected, which is the case here, there'd be outrage. Maryland's actually the only state other than North Dakota with both 4-year House terms and a political party-controlled nomination process for filling vacancies. I think it's time to join the many red and blue states with special elections, and even an all-male special election system would be a huge upgrade from what we currently have. For passing policies that support working families, the Time to Care Act will be one of my priorities when I'm a delegate, as I'm already on the listserv for and I'm a member of the Time to Care Coalition. I have a personal interest in paid family leave, universal pre-K, subsidies for childcare, fair work hours, and other measures that help young working families. So you can be sure that I'll be a strong advocate for them. I've already been an advocate for policies like these. I testified in the General Assembly to pass paid sick leave as the Women's Caucus Chair of statewide Young Dems, and planned, launch, and ran an advocacy effort to organize other young women to advocate in support of it. For protecting the environment, I support the Climate Solutions Now Act with its renewable energy goals and the Environmental Rights Amendment, which will make it easier to pass laws and litigate in support of the environment. It's really tough to choose only 3 priorities, but these are the 3 that I strongly believe in. And I think that, environment is strongly tied to transportation, another issue that I have advocacy experience in, in the county. And so, I think these are the top 3.
Thank you very much. Colin.
Thank you. My primary goal for the balance of this term is to help build a more equitable future economy for all Marylanders. 3 specific areas in which I'd focus is a more fair approach to taxation, to ensure that all pay their fair share, and that there's sufficient revenue to really allow Maryland to invest in some of the policies that we hope to create to help build this future economy. Second, I'd be focused on innovation policy to help ensure that Maryland continues to be a leader on infrastructure, on broadband access, and on other areas in which we can ensure that Maryland has a greater share of the future innovation economy. And third, be focused on upholding our shared democratic principles. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Michael.
Thank you, sir. I think this question is a little off focus given the purpose of the special appointment here that we're talking about, because with the upcoming special session, they're talking about potential overrides, government veto, appointing a treasurer, and dealing with a redistricting plan. So I think that is a more appropriate topic, but I'll answer the question as asked. The top three priorities are, for me at least, are procurement, education, and the arts. For procurement, my background is primarily the intersection of federal government contracts and labor and employment law. So I do a lot with procurement issues. And through my time working with the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, I was on the GovCon committee for the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce for about 3 years. And it was very evident to me that Montgomery County alone is the #2 county in the country for number of small businesses that do work for the federal government. So Maryland has a huge competitive advantage when it comes to federal procurement. And I think that the state should do more to foster the growth of federal contractors through tax incentives, through variations of hub zones and other things to encourage the creation and longevity of federal contractors in the state. Similarly, I think that the Maryland procurement needs to be revamped. It needs to adopt the model procurement code put out by the ABA or other organizations. Education, again, I read the paper and I see, talk to folks about how teachers and the school systems are just, bursting at the seams dealing with the aftermath of COVID. There's going to be a lot of money and time that's going to be needed to rebuild the schools and to help kids and communities catch up from almost 2 years of COVID. Finally, the arts. I'm steeped in the arts, and COVID has just completely decimated the arts. And that is a natural base for nourishing the soul, number one, but also for constituencies for the Democratic Party. So I think that it's very important to stimulate the arts, to allow them to come back.
Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate it. We'll get back to you again, I'm sure. All right, Saqib.
So, hold on one second. So, I am the climate change candidate. I understand that human-caused global warming is an existential crisis for all of humanity. This is going to be my #1 priority in Annapolis. And accordingly, I'm going to say that we need to make Maryland carbon net neutral by 2045. That bill failed this year because the House and the Senate couldn't agree. But I will say that we should go with the Senate's version. I will talk to Kumar Barve and I'll say, hey, accept Senator Pinsky's version of this bill, which is more aggressive on cutting down our global warming. And I will say also that we should cut our emissions to 60%, no, to 40% of what they were in 2006 by 2030. So this is a very important thing. We got to throw every tool at this problem we have, and we have to get to carbon net neutral as soon as possible, and just accelerate that curve down towards that. I understand that. The other thing is I'm the racial and social justice candidate, okay? I want to make recreational marijuana legalized in Maryland, and I want the communities that have been affected by the war on drugs, from the Latino community, the African-American communities, to share in the profits of the taxation from that product, okay? I also think that our incarcerated citizens, when they do labor for the state, they should be paid a minimum wage. Did you know that right now they get paid like $1 or $1.50 per hour? It's slave wages. And I have listed this on my website, a very detailed racial justice platform, or very detailed climate platform on my website for months and months and months, not just since the vacancy opened up. I'm also the good government candidate. When I was in Annapolis, I posted the ballot, the votes online for committees. I eliminated the secret ballot in MCDCC.
Thank you very much. I'm going to interrupt you.
We need to eliminate this.
Saqib, I'm going to interrupt you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll go now to the next question, I believe. And that is, how will you reach out to your constituents in both the up county and the down county and balance their diverse interests. And we'll start with Amy.
So I actually have strong roots to both the up county and the down county areas of the district, so it comes very naturally to me. I was born and raised in the Gaithersburg, Darnestown, North Potomac area, depending on who you ask, and went to MCPS schools in Gaithersburg and Germantown from kindergarten through community college, literally going from MCPS and Harvard on the Pike to Harvard Law School. I've also rented in the apartment heavy unincorporated Rockville part of the district, and my partner is from the Potomac part of the district. One of my best friends and my communications director is from Poolesville, and I'm the only candidate who has canvassed significantly in this district, going door to door as south as the Bethesda section of the district to Barnesville and Boyd's, and has proven that my candidacy is broadly supported across not only different geographic communities within the district, but also across political leanings, in fact. I'm able to connect with more up-county communities because of my up-county roots, my military reservist background, and my interest in up-county and ag-reserve issues. It's because of this that I have the endorsement of District 15 community leaders, such as the executive director of the Montgomery Countryside Alliance, as well as Caroline Taylor, as well as District 15 leaders as progressive neighbors folks, and as moderate as Montgomery County Redistricting Commissioner Jason Maxstein. I'm able to connect with down county communities because I have many family friends in Potomac and have rented and lived in Rockville. Renters make up over 1/3 of Montgomery County, and yet hardly any of our county's delegation members are renters. And as someone who's not yet a homeowner, once appointed, I would not only help ameliorate that disparity, but also be a true ally for housing affordability from Bethesda, Boyd's, Barnesville, and every community within the district, particularly the renter heavy districts.
Thank you very much. We will now go to Colin.
I think that this is a function of two primary components. It's being present and it's being available. I think the desire to listen and understand the issues is the key component, and hearing more and wanting to work through the issues, try and find solutions. That's characteristic of my career over the last decade, and I think it's something that I bring to this as well. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. And finally, Michael.
Not finally, but thank you. And
I'm sorry.
I think there's one or two people after me still. So reach out to constituents. Again, I'm trying to interpret the question here a little bit, but I've lived down county for the last 25 years. So I'm very well versed in the folks who are down county. As far as up county folks, my kids, having gone to the magnet school, had friends all over the county. So we have acquaintances all throughout the county. So have roots all over the place. As far as specifically reaching out to folks, again, I'm not the polished politician everybody else is, and for purposes of this special nomination, I don't know if this is precisely the right type of question to ask, but if you're asking for my strategy, how I'm going to actually wind up doing if I have to participate in the primary, very simply, one of my adult children now works for a Democratic communications firm downtown. I plan to tap that. And my other kid did a lot of extensive work through Democracy Summer and through Jamie Raskin, and has a vast network of foot soldiers throughout the county. So I can easily tap into that. And then I will tip my hat to Amy, because 4 years ago, she came knocking on my door, and I thought that was a highly effective program. I actually voted for you because you're the first candidate in 25 years who actually came to my house. So I tend to emulate that.
All right, thank you very much. We will now go on to the next question, which is.
You missed me.
I'm sorry.
You missed Sakib.
You missed Linda also.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll get my card straight here. Go ahead.
Who should go ahead?
Sakib, go ahead.
Okay. So I want everyone to please pay very close attention to this answer. My answer is going to be significantly different than what other people said. So firstly, I will listen to everybody. I will be very accessible. Everybody knows that when I was in Annapolis last time, they could text me, email me, tweet me, Facebook me, whatever. Even late at night, they'd get an answer, in a minute or two, usually. Now, Delegate Mark Corman is known for that being uber responsive. But I like to think that I was Mark Corman before Mark Corman became cool. Anyway, I'm going to listen to everybody, but then I'm going to do what I think is right for the community. And I may not, because I think if you worry too much about this balance business, you can come up with bad policy. And I'm going to give you two examples. In District 15, if you ask everybody and try to balance people, do you want to shift the school redistricting borders, school boundaries? They'll tell you no, because they want to keep their school boundaries exactly as they are. But the effect of that is to keep Black and brown students out of their schools. So they may not agree with me, and I may not balance their concerns, but I think I'm going to push for the right policies. The other thing is District 15 has so many very wealthy millionaires and billionaires, even Dan Snyder, Josh Rails. They may not like, if I try to balance their interests, I don't think that'll be good policy. I'm going to push for higher taxes for the ultra wealthy. And even if some people in District 15, North, South, East, or West don't like that, that's what people are empowering me to go there to do. And we have to do the right thing and not always just like stick our finger into the wind.
All right, thank you very much. We will now go to Linda.
Thank you. We can talk about what we want to do and how we want to talk to people, but let me just point out that as chair of the Montgomery County Democratic Party, I instituted a very aggressive campaign to hold town halls in District 15 and across Montgomery County. We held more than a dozen town halls and forums in District 15 over the last couple of years since I've been chair, and many more across the county. Those are very, very effective. We were a pioneer in that area, and I intend to do that even more if you send me to Annapolis. What I want to do is institute regular meetings, regular town halls and forum using digital technology, some in person, across the district. And that's really a great way to get feedback and input from people. When we did these town halls, it was great for the elected officials to hear from their constituents, and it's great for the constituents to interact with their elected officials. The other thing, as county party chair, I have been in contact with precinct leaders constantly across District 15, has one of the greatest precinct organizations in the county. Believe me, I know that. And those folks are in every single neighborhood in the county. I think that's a great way for an elected leader to stay in touch with what's going on around the district. As for the future, I do want to build a network of HOA leaders and other community-based groups to meet regularly on a regular basis with them. And I also think it's very important to meet regularly with leaders of underserved communities in our district. And that's true for the up county as well as the down county. So there are many ways that we can listen and communicate with each other and be effective, and then together, build a strong voice.
Linda, thank you very much.
District 15. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Excuse me. Next, we'll start with Colin. And the question is, what will you do to help families that have been hard hit by COVID? Do you support the passage of the Time to Care Act? Do you support paid medical and family leave, fair work hours, extended subsidies for childcare, and universal pre-K?
Thank you. Yes, I strongly support paid family leave. I hope it's something that is implemented in Maryland in the upcoming session. The form that it may take, I think, will still be determined. Strongly support expanding support for childcare coverage and universal pre-K. And I think generally this topic raises one of the central themes of why I was interested in applying for this vacancy, is that we have an opportunity here to help build a more equitable future economy. And that addresses many of these issues, reducing economic inequality, ensuring there's access to better paying jobs, and providing the support so that all Marylanders can thrive.
All right, thank you very much. We will next go to Michael.
Thank you. This is an area near and dear to me because this is what I represent clients on frequently. As far as paid sick leave, paid family medical leave, these are all things that the federal government requires federal contractors to provide to all federal contractors. And since we have a sufficiently large number of federal contractors in Maryland, Maryland is starting off from a better position than most other states. But still, there's the whole entire non-federal workforce that should have paid medical and family leave. The Time to Care Act is roughly analogous to what was passed in the District of Columbia several years ago. That bill has had spotty success. It has its issues. We'd like to perhaps tweak the current Time to Cares Act to work out some of those issues to make it work better. But to provide a modicum of family leave and sick leave to individuals, I think is what modern democracies across the world are providing. And so my personal opinion is that I think that Maryland should encourage this as well. As far as subsidies for childcare and universal pre-K, yes. And as far as providing care to families hard hit by COVID, you get the economy rolling again, get everybody back to work in high-paying jobs, well-paying jobs of meaningful work. I think that's the best way we can get people back on their feet again.
All right, thank you very much. We will now go to Saqib.
So of course, I support paid family leave, this bill, Time to Care Act. It's an absolute travesty that in America in 2021, every worker doesn't have paid family leave. It shouldn't happen. Now, I like this bill. I support this bill. I will co-sponsor this bill. But I hope to God it's not even necessary, because I hope before I get to Annapolis, President Biden's Build Back Better Act will pass and make the need for this bill, obviate the need for this bill. I'm so proud. This all hinges on, Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin gutting the most important aspects of the Democratic Party's platform, and I hope they don't do it. And I'm so proud of members of the House Progressive Caucus like Jamie Raskin, who was my former colleague in Annapolis, who held strong for so long to pressure, put these items on the agenda, focus our nation's attention on paid family leave, paid sick leave, universal paid pre-K. These are really important issues, and they fought that fight and they built the pressure. And I'm very hopeful that the Build Back Better Act will pass very soon.
Next, we have Linda.
Thank you. So it's very clear that if you were with the District 15 group when we went up to the Up County Hub earlier this week, it's very clear that the ravages of the pandemic are still with us. The food insecurity in this county is heartbreaking, and it's if you haven't ever volunteered at the Up County Hub, please do it, because it's really worth it. But we need to continue to support the food distribution efforts. But we also, in terms of coming out of the pandemic, we need to support the vaccination efforts, continue to support those in Annapolis. We're doing well, but this as statewide, we could do better, and we need to do that. And we need to make sure that all the funds from the CARES Act that was passed to help with the pandemic, we need to make sure that those are distributed. The governor has been slow distributing those. Anybody that has applied for unemployment insurance, enhanced unemployment, knows that. Yes, of course, I support the Time to Care Act. I was in on the ground floor when I first moved to Washington. When we did family and medical leave at the national level, I was involved in getting that implemented. So the Time to Care Act is very important. We could get it in the Build Back Better bill, but if we don't, we need to be prepared to take care of it in Annapolis. Likewise, if the Build Back Better bill doesn't include funding for childcare and universal pre-K, the state must step in. I want to point out, though, that funding for childcare and universal pre-K is already included in the blueprint for Maryland, and it's already underway and being implemented. So we must make sure that that blueprint continues to get implemented to address these issues. There are a few other issues, like, for example, the Fair Scheduling Act that would allow low-income workers to be able to know what their schedule is in advance so that they're not called into work willy-nilly and not be able to get childcare or make arrangements for that. So there are a number of things that can, additional things that can be done, but we do need to do more work here to make sure that working families in District 15 and across Maryland are able to come out of this pandemic with some semblance of normalcy.
Linda, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. That was Linda, and so Amy.
Like I previously stated, the Time to Care Act is one of my top 3 priorities. And I also support universal pre-K and the Fair Scheduling Act and other policies that support young working families like the one I hope to build. I've testified in the General Assembly to pass paid sick leave and will continue to be engaged in advocacy efforts to organize others to advocate in support of it. While I think it's great that our state legislators have worked to address economic pains as a result of the pandemic, the unemployment system was a mess. Like many young people, I temporarily moved in with one of my parents for a few months for affordability, health, comfort, and to just be a supportive daughter during the pandemic. My mom was newly living alone in a condo in the Rockville area, and was newly employed in a new job that she liked. However, it was a service sector job that was both closed during a long stretch of the pandemic and was not a computer-based job that would allow for working from home. I watched her spend many, many hours on the phone trying to get access to unemployment insurance. And I tried to do the best I could to be a supportive daughter. I'm so glad and I'm proud that I was able to support her when she otherwise would have been in a vulnerable economic and emotional situation, alone and unemployed. We need to consider how we can be better prepared for emergencies like these. Sadly, I also have 2 friends who didn't make it through the pandemic, not due to COVID-19, but due to mental health. They were friends and Marylanders who lost battles with depression. We are experiencing a mental health crisis in this country and in this county, and the pandemic only made it worse. As Jennifer Martin, who's president of the Montgomery County Teachers Union, MCEA, said, teachers are struggling to address the mental health challenges students face caused by the pandemic, as well as learning loss. And also the director of psychological services for MCPS said that before the pandemic, there was only one chapter of Our Minds Matter, which is a mental health club in Montgomery County. And it only existed at 1 school. And now that number has grown to 17. So students want more mental health services, and we need to do more to support mental health needs.
Thank you very much. All right. I'm getting a little mixed up on my cards. Did everybody answer that question? Great. Let's now go to Colin to start the next one. And the question is, what will you do to improve the business climate in Maryland and retain and attract new businesses?
Great. Yeah, I think 2 primary issues in supporting business climate in Maryland and Montgomery County is building for consistency. So a strong infrastructure and strong education system that allows for business planning and reliability in our area as we seek to expand. But I think that there's another component to this as well, as we think about some of the effects of innovation in our current economy. And it's also helping to bring Montgomery County to the state economy and to the national economy. An increasing proportion of jobs will be available with remote options and with alternative work schedules. And the result of some of these considerations further expands the range in which individual businesses will be thinking about locations for both where we choose to live and where we choose to work. And so I think we want to continue expanding access to universal broadband here in Montgomery County and continuing to support a great education system.
All right, thank you very much. Michael, same question.
Sure, the business climate question. Well, I see there are three things that can be done to improve. Number one is to improve the overall feeling of regulatory and enforcement focus of Maryland government officials. Number two, tax. Number three, some kind of business development or hub zones. As far as regulatory certainty, I've represented clients throughout the DMV. And in my experience, the folks in the executive branch, both at the state and the county level, presume that all employers, that all businesses are guilty until proven innocent, which does not exactly help with the business climate. Given that kind of focus, many businesses would prefer to go across the river to Virginia, where it's not as anti-business, or at least not perceived as anti-business as much. So I think that there needs to be some adjustment in the tone of enforcement to encourage businesses to say, hey, look, things aren't so bad here, Maryland. Come stay in Maryland. Come build a business in Maryland. Number two, tax. Again, dealing with a lot of clients throughout the DMV, many clients will choose to move to Virginia because of perceived tax issues. Again, it's not necessarily that taxes are overall higher in Maryland, but there's a perception. And so I think it's part PR campaign and part readjusting the taxes to incentivize certain businesses that the state, as part of its economic picture, wants to encourage.
Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate it. All right, Saqib.
You know, I think the business climate in Maryland is pretty darn good. And
Saqib, we're having difficulty hearing you.
testing, can you hear me?
Yes, better.
Okay. You know, I think the business climate in Maryland is pretty darn good. And, you know, Michael alluded to it. A lot of these are just right-wing talking points. You know, if you look at our overall tax burden, it's the same as Virginia's, or even lower in some instances. So, you know, I think we're doing fine. What I would like to see, the way to attract more businesses to Maryland is to make our schools the best in the country. Let's pay our teachers more. Let's build the best facilities. Let's build, let's recruit the best teachers from all across the country. And let's make Maryland's superpower be the best schools in the country, instead of like trying to do like a race to the bottom for the lowest taxes, right? And if we have the best schools in the country, then people from all over the country are going to start moving here, flocking here. Highly educated people, high achievers will start moving here, and then employers will come too. So, you know, I think we have to be careful about falling into this trap of repeating sort of like an urban legend. You know, I think the economy here and the economic climate is pretty good.
All right, thank you very much. Linda.
Okay, thank you. I think one thing we can do right away is to streamline the process that it takes to open up a business or to start a business here. You know, in Maryland, this is a great state, but we have a lot of problems with our bureaucracy. So we need to reduce the red tape when it comes to starting a business or opening a business. I think it's important that we support and enhance the entrepreneurship programs that are already underway and already exist in the Montgomery County Public Schools. Those are a pipeline directly to Maryland businesses. The entrepreneurship program is done in cooperation with Montgomery College and the universities at Shady Grove. And it's a great resource for businesses who are coming into the state. We can do tax incentives for startup and expanding businesses, and we can make those tax incentives tied to job creation. That becomes a win-win for everybody. I'm very much in favor of promoting shop local and putting resources behind that. I think we can use established and planned development centers, such as the Shady Grove Life Sciences Center and the proposed Great Seneca Creek Life Sciences Center, to attract and keep new and developing industries. A recent example of that is the migration of Novo Nordisk to Montgomery County. And then finally, we do need to support and enhance the infrastructure around businesses, including and most especially education, but other important community components like roads and community services that will help attract and keep businesses in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy.
Our region is already thriving in certain sectors, as was said before, the life sciences sector and biotech, but we have significant room for improvement. Too many people I know have moved away from Montgomery County and instead are starting to build families in DC and Virginia, in large part due to proximity to work, transit, lively entertainment options, and even public policy. Likewise, businesses are choosing to not locate in Montgomery County because they're seeking proximity to those young, highly skilled talent and transit options and policies that support businesses. Too many young working families and businesses alike have determined that their needs are better met downtown or across the river. Just a couple of years ago, we spent precious local resources on attracting Amazon HQ2 to White Flint and missed out on the opportunity to see that investment result in high-paying jobs and improved transit. Policies that support working families also help attract businesses because they attract young talent. For example, DC is more amenable to young families in that it offers universal pre-K starting at age 3. By not matching DC, we're pushing young people downtown. If we match DC in that respect and pass the Time to Care Act, guaranteeing paid family leave, we could regain our competitive advantage.
All right, thank you very much. I think everyone got to speak on that, so we will now go to one on fossil fuels. And that is, what would you do to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels? What will you do to support the development of wind power off our coast, solar power, and protect land outside of the agricultural reserve? And I believe we're starting with you, Michael.
Okay, thank you. Well, as far as a lot of this stuff is going to be, thankfully, kickstarted by the Biden infrastructure plan that was just passed, which has huge spending for infrastructure and getting off reliance of fossil fuels and for charging stations and other smart infrastructure to move us away from fossil fuels. I think, as Linda and others said, I think it's a question of allocating how the money will be spent from the federal money that's being provided to making smart choices that work well for Maryland, given Maryland's economy and Maryland's priorities. As far as wind and solar, I have fortunately had some exposure to both those industries back at one of my prior firms, and there's just a whole lot of excitement and effort building up in those industries, especially since some of them are even based here in Montgomery County and other parts of Maryland. I think it's a question of incentivizing those businesses to grow. I think it's a question of providing direct state procurement to encourage use of those industries, both at the county and the state level, and also to provide encouragement on the tax base and other incentives to allow these businesses to flourish and to make Maryland a center for these technologies across the country.
Thank you very much. All right, Shakib.
Okay. What we have to do is we have to pass a law in Maryland that says we're going to be carbon net neutral by 2045, and that we're going to reduce our carbon emissions from 2006 levels by 60% by 2030. Okay. And we have to throw every possible tool at this problem. I want to give more subsidies to electric vehicles charging stations. I want to see the Build Back Better, more charging stations. I think in the infrastructure bill, there's some that passed. There's charging stations all over the country. We got to blanket them, and we also have to put more terrestrial solar in, even in the ag reserve. Okay, we have to take climate change as if it's the #1 overriding problem. I take this very seriously. I actually went out, if you look at these pictures, I went out and I bought an electric car. And then I also installed these solar panels on my roof. So I actually live this. I'm not just, talking, I actually made these changes in my life because I believe this is a legacy that I have to fix for my kids. And you know what? I'm going to loudly urge our congressmen to support the Green New Deal.
I'm going to interrupt you again.
Green New Deal.
I thank you for your contribution. All right, next would be Linda.
Okay, thank you. So transportation is the largest producer of carbon pollution in Maryland. There's no question about that. So one thing we have to do is with our transportation, addressing our transportation problems and solutions need to be viewed through the lens of climate change. So it's very important that we fund public transportation. We really don't have public transportation here in District 15, so we need to expand it and bring it here. There is money in the infrastructure bill for public transportation. We also have a surplus of $2.5 billion in Maryland that we could use toward that. We need to support solar power and clean energy jobs. Fortunately for us in District 15, Senator Brian Feldman is a leader in this area. He was a leader on this bill. But here's the problem. We're behind already on the targets for wind and solar power that were included in the 2019 Clean Energy Jobs Act. So we need to get to square one. Charging stations are important, electric charging stations for electric cars. There is money in the infrastructure bill for that. We need to identify that now, where we need to put those and start putting them in. We need net zero buildings. And we need to change our building standards so that we have clean buildings, clean energy buildings that we're putting up. And we need to fight off proposals like BG&E's Pay It Forward that would extend pipelines into areas where they don't exist. We're closing the Dickerson incinerator, yay, but that's not enough. We must close all coal-fired plants in the state. And then finally, I just want to say that in District 15, in addition to Senator Feldman, we also have Representative David Frazier Hidalgo, who is a leader on this issue. And if and when I get to Annapolis, I will follow their leads because they've been making great progress, helping to lead us to make great progress here in Maryland on these climate change issues. And I look forward to working with them as we go forward on these issues in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy.
So I agree with the renewability standards and the building standards the other candidates have already mentioned. And I totally support policies that make electric vehicles more affordable and convenient. Props to Saqib for walking the walk, walking the talk. When my old Camry dies out, I dream of driving a purple Tesla around District 15 and being maybe a little bit too much of a spotlight, but hopefully that's not the only thing that you take away from everything I've said tonight. I've already mentioned my support of the Climate Solutions Now Act, which addresses renewable energy targets involving wind and solar, as well as the Environmental Rights Act. And protecting the environment, like I said earlier, is one of my top 3 priorities. I'm proud to be a part of organizations that work to improve our public transit and our infrastructure. Both the county's Vision Zero Equity Task Force, which worked to study equity concerns in Vision Zero to make our streets and our communities safer for pedestrians and cyclists, as well as the Greater Shady Grove Transportation Management District Advisory Committee. I know it's a mouthful, and it's something that I've been proud to do in honor of a friend of mine who was struck by a car in Gaithersburg when she was biking, as well as in response to hundreds of collisions involving pedestrians or cyclists in our county each year, and the CO2 emissions that come with congestion and traffic. I'm committed to protecting our environment and improving the transportation options in our community in doing so. I believe we deserve better transit and walkable, bikeable neighborhoods that are safe for our children, our seniors, and everyone in between.
Thank you very much. Colin.
I think 2 of the primary goals for state policy on this issue should be zero emissions before 2050 and a significant investment in clean energy jobs. And I think the support for the move to electric vehicles and the necessary supporting infrastructure in the state that will enable that should be a big focus for Maryland as well, both for the emissions reductions, but also for the benefits that accrue to our existing infrastructure. By helping to move energy production to counter-cyclical times in the day, it's going to reduce some of the wear and tear on grid, and that's going to be to the benefit of the state as well. And I think some of the efforts there will have secondary benefits to the state.
All right, thank you very much. We will now move to the next question. What will you do to increase the amount of affordable housing? How will you assist renters? Would you consider zoning reforms? If so, what reforms? And Amy, we're going to start with you.
Sure. So like I said before, renters make up over a third of Montgomery County, and yet hardly any of our county's delegation members are renters. And as someone who's not yet a homeowner, once appointed, I would not only help ameliorate that disparity, but also be a true ally for housing affordability. Not enough members of the Montgomery County delegation supported Delegate Janelle Wilkins' renters' rights bill, and if appointed, I would strongly advocate for it. I also know that many young people have delayed becoming homeowners because of student loan debt. As someone who's taken out a significant amount of student loans, I can relate. And earlier this year, I promoted the Maryland Student Debt Tax Credit. Also, as someone who first attended Montgomery College Germantown before transferring to Cornell, I promoted the community college bill championed by Delegate Jared Solomon. Making education more affordable through tax credits, transfer agreements, and more helps people dedicate more of their hard-earned income towards paying for rent or saving up for a down payment. I'm also, there's a lot of room for improvement also with our zoning, as I'm a big fan of transit-oriented development. And as a member of the committees I've already mentioned, and the Action Committee for Transit, I've been pleased to see increased development near the Shady Grove Metro, which beforehand had a bus depot. There's lots of room for improvement, and my good relationships with county council members can help facilitate some of these changes. I've also personally spoken extensively with County Executive Mark Elrich about zoning reforms and housing affordability for young people.
All right, thank you very much. Colin.
I think the primary response to housing crisis is increasing inventory. I think we need to expand available housing in Montgomery County. And I think a big part of that is we want to increase density along travel corridors. I think we need to support transportation solutions in addition to that to help make this possible. But I think also, in light of some of the developments in innovation and work availability and things along those lines, increasing universal broadband access will be helpful as well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think we started with you, Saqib. So, oh, Michael, did we?
I haven't answered this question.
Go ahead.
I have not answered this question.
Yeah, I think it's me, then Saqib, and then Linda.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I'll go next. All right, so to increase the amount of affordable housing, I think I'm the only one of the 5 candidates here who's actually worked for developers and worked for construction companies. And so I look at it from a slightly different perspective. Obviously, I look at it from the perspective of the renters, but I look at it also from a supply side. Again, part of my background, I understand both sides of the equation here. And if you're looking to increase the amount of affordable housing, yeah, you have to provide appropriate stick and carrot incentives to the developers and to the owners of the land. And it comes down to basic economics. As Colin said, you need to encourage increased stock. How do you do that? You have to make it more profitable for companies and for individuals to create affordable housing. And so it's a question of finding the right balance between economic incentives and restrictions. For instance, I know that in the District of Columbia, that for every so many units of at price housing that one builds, one also has to build a certain percentage of affordable housing. Similar rules should probably apply here in Maryland as well. So that's the primary focus, I think, for increasing the housing stock. Zoning reforms, I think, more typically is a county issue rather than a state issue. But to the extent that the state can encourage rezoning to allow for the expanded use of affordable housing, I think that's something that the state should tread lightly on what's normally the province of the counties.
Thank you very much. And Saqib.
Okay, so I look at this as a social justice issue. Okay, we have more and more people come to this county, but they don't have any place to live affordably. Okay, so what do? I'll tell you one thing that really bothers me. Where I live in my neighborhood, we have all these single family houses. Okay, lots of them. There's actually a law that says, a county law, an ordinance that says you can't build a townhouse in this neighborhood, and you can't build a duplex, and you can't build a fourplex in this neighborhood. Why? So what the result is that these housing prices keep getting higher and higher. Okay, so the people who have houses, they're getting richer and richer and richer. But the people who don't have houses, they are being permanently priced out. Okay, and who are those people who don't have houses? They're typically younger people, immigrants, browner and blacker people. Okay, so we need to solve this problem. I believe we need to eliminate single family laws that say you can only build single family houses in these neighborhoods. Okay, because those just help like generational wealth passed down from rich people to their kids, and they lock out other people from joining that conveyor belt to wealth, which accrues with home ownership. So we need to eliminate single family only zoning. That's a county issue, of course. So I will support and endorse and campaign for and donate to candidates to the county council and county executive who I believe are really interested in making housing more affordable. That's the first thing. The second thing is there is a bill introduced by Janelle Wilkins, Delegate Janelle Wilkins, that says if you're a landlord and you're not going to renew the lease, you just have to give a reason why. Okay, and that was killed by the landlord association. Why? Why would someone not want to give a reason? There's only one reason you wouldn't want to tell
Again, I have to
why
thank
you're
you and interrupt
evicting
you.
someone is 'cause
I'm
it's
sorry. I'm
something
going to stop
nefarious.
you right there. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, let's go. I think we're going to make this our, well, Linda, did you?
No, I need to respond to this question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Hmm.
You know, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, but unfortunately for this debate, the issue of affordable housing in Maryland is primarily a local issue. That's usually where it's addressed. In fact, there's a, and we may want to change that. There's a very interesting op-ed in the Baltimore Sun that we're in today or tomorrow that talks about how we could possibly look at changing that and giving the state maybe some more say so. I think that is a debate that we probably need to have. But right now at the state level, there are some things we can do. I think we can support incentivization of builders to build affordable housing. There are things we can do to incentivize them to do that. And we can partner with local jurisdictions to build and maintain affordable housing. And then again, we can reduce the red tape for developers who are looking to build more affordable housing. In terms of renters, there was some legislation that was enacted in the last session to protect renters. There were 3 renter relief bills that were enacted, but there were 20 that were not. So there's a lot more we can do there. The bill sponsored by Delegate Wilkins was mentioned. That's one of them. We can also do, for example, increase the cost that it takes to file for evictions to try to curtail serial evictions that are still too rampant across the state. And we can provide more renter rights, such as access to their security deposits, utility metering, and so forth. In terms of zoning reforms, there are a lot of zoning proposals out there in Montgomery County. I'd be happy to discuss them at some point.
And I thank you for
Really,
your response.
This is not a state issue.
Thank you very
and
much. Linda,
thanks.
thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to make this our last. Should we do one more question? Or should we go to summary?
Let's do one more question.
One more question. All right. We'll do this. Here we go. This is about the P3. Do you support the governor's P3 plan to expand the Beltway in I-270? If not, what would you change or modify to improve roads and reduce congestion in D15? And we'll start with Colin.
No, I don't believe expansion is the solution to traffic as a long-term problem. I think we need to focus on a variety of transportation options. Some of the suggestions that come to mind are expanding the metro line through Montgomery County, increasing the reliability and service of the MARC train in Montgomery County. But I also think that we should respond to some of the transportation issues by focusing on building economic centers closer to our district and increasing the economic climate here. And as well with a lot of the innovation that's going on, working to support bringing Montgomery County job seekers to the state economy and to the national economy. There's increasing availability of remote work options and other options. And as a result, we need to be supporting universal broadband access in District 15. Thanks.
Michael, thank you. All right. Colin, thank you. Michael, we go next to you.
Okay, thank you. Again, I have probably the unique distinction among the candidates to actually have represented companies that were bidding on the Purple Line P3 project. So I'm somewhat familiar with how P3s work in the state of Maryland, or sometimes don't work in the state of Maryland, as the case may be. And I'm not quite sure what this question was trying to get at, whether it's talking about the propriety of using a P3 as a funding mechanism, or whether to expand the Beltway and 270 altogether, because those are two very different questions. And as far as the propriety of a P3, it sounds nice. I think it works well for bridges and for throughways and other exclusive access things where the contractor can build the infrastructure and then charge tolls. But for something like expanding the Beltway or I-270, it raises kind of very undemocratic feelings about it when you're sitting there congested in traffic and you see a couple of people zipping along paying $50 to go 3 miles in the toll lanes. So it's very undemocratic for something that's usually a public good. But as far as expanding the Beltway and I-270, I think given the amount of development up county and the traffic jams that I see every day, sort of at the corner of Montrose and 270, I think there does need to be some expansion. Obviously, there needs to be some public transit options and some other ways to reduce the congestion on the roads. But as the population keeps growing and people keep commuting in from Frederick and other places north, I think that we have to expand 270. Otherwise, it's going to be completely unusable for anybody who actually lives in District 15.
Thank you very much. Saqib.
Yeah, I'm opposed to public-private partnerships. I think that roads should be owned by the state and by the people, not by private corporations. The governor experimented with a P3 on the Purple Line, and it was botched. So I don't see any reason to continue a failed experiment on a much bigger and more expensive scale. I would like to alleviate road congestion, not by widening roads and building more lanes, but by reducing traffic, automobile traffic. And I think we can do that by, building homes closer to workplaces. If you look at Kentlands near me, there's offices and homes and restaurants all commingled. We can encourage remote work, right? The pandemic has made many white collar workers eliminated their commutes. So we can push that harder. We can encourage mass transit through extending the metro, putting in more bus lines. We can give people better bicycle options by building bike lanes, and making roads more pedestrian friendly. So there's a lot of things we can do. I just don't like the idea of just building roads all the time as the be all and end all. It's a very uncreative solution, and having private companies own our public infrastructure, I just think that that's a very insidious idea, where they get to then charge people and they get to keep the money. I don't want to, the idea of privatizing our public infrastructure strikes me as very just un-American, frankly.
Thank you. Linda.
As a former regular commuter on I-270, I know really well what the traffic problems are in District 15 with 270, but I do not support the governor's plan. I do not support the public-private partnership. For one thing, the governor's plan will not solve D15's up-county transportation problems. The toll lanes, or the Lexus lanes as they're known, will end at the inter-county connector. How in the world does that help commuters in Germantown and Clarksburg? It doesn't. And the other thing is it's way too expensive. It's going to cost almost $100 a day to commute on those toll lanes, according to the tolls that were published the other day during rush hour. I think reversible lanes on 270 is a possible answer. That will allow us to use the road in a way it should be used, rather than expand the road and have 4 lanes that aren't used in the morning and then 4 additional lanes that aren't used at night because of the traffic flow. But if you had reversible lanes, you'd make the best use of the road. Obviously, more public transportation is needed. We need expanded bus service. We need rapid bus transit like they have already established on the Maryland 29 Colesville corridor. We could do that on 355. We could look at that parallel to the 270 corridor as well. Last mile transportation is important, bike paths and pedestrian walkways. And I would like us to look at midday travel, expanding midday travel on MARC. Right now, MARC is only operating in the morning and in the afternoon. There's no reason why we can't have more access to MARC in our community. And then the final thing that I want to stress here is, again, any transportation plan that we adopt must not exacerbate the effects of climate change. And we need to keep that in mind. And that's another reason to oppose this proposal by the governor. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy?
So as the last person answering this question, there's not a whole lot that I have to add. I think Colin and Saqib really hit the nail on the head. And, you know, it's you know, there are accountability issues, there are equity issues, there are many issues with the P3 and how it's just a short-term solution. As a commuter, and you know, as someone who has commuted to Fort Meade, you know, I would take 270 to 495 to 95 to 32, and even during my weekend duties, there would be, you know, traffic on 495. But there actually used to be a bus going straight from Gaithersburg to Fort Meade, and it was discontinued, and I was really bummed because it would have been extremely convenient and would have you know, cut down on a significant commute for me. So I totally understand you know, where folks are coming from, but I think we can also be creative in reducing reliance on single occupancy vehicles. You know, some of the more creative things that you know, haven't been mentioned yet are Incentrip, which is a relatively new program, and you know, I think we need to think long term about you know, our transportation and our infrastructure options.
Thank you. All right, we'll go now to the final step, and that is each of you will have 2 minutes to summarize your candidacy and why people should vote for you. And I'm going to go in reverse alphabetical order. So Michael, start off, please.
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity. As indicated before, I'm the only novice here, having not been on public commissions and not holding other offices. So I thank you for the opportunity. I'm a little bit of a wild card, but I possess a lot of experience that I think the other candidates do not. Again, I've represented individuals, companies, nonprofits, universities, a wide range of industries and individuals in a variety of industries. I have the background and the knowledge about how these industries work, about how government works, about how government regulates these industries and individuals, and how to improve it. You know, as to why me, why now? As I said before, I see that democracy is not a spectator sport, and I look across the river to what happened in the recent Virginia elections, and I see a shift in the electorate. Again, a little bit, you know, pendulum swinging a little bit more toward the moderate side than the progressive side, and I believe I have in my background enough to appeal to Democrats, disaffected Republicans, and independents, and it's sort of in the mold of the Honorable Kathleen DeMay, who's stepping down to become a judge. I believe that she sort of hewed that line of a quasi-moderate, and I think that the nominee who gets the nod from District 15 should reflect the demographics of D15 in particular, and not necessarily that of the county as a whole. And I believe that, given my background and experience, I represent the interests of D15, and I ask that I be appointed to the position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colin.
I'm Colin Richard. from North Potomac. I'm a father of 4, and this is a community I care greatly about. I want to continue to see the businesses and schools and institutions of our community thrive. I've applied for this vacancy because I want to help build a more equitable future economy for all Marylanders. But I've also applied for this vacancy because I look forward to the District 15 voters selecting the next delegate in June for the full term. I think having the opportunity to hear this discussion tonight has been great. The opportunity to hear a range of views on a range of policy matters. And I think that's something we can look forward to in June if there is a open competitive primary for the district's voters to select. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go now to Amy.
So in the most recent primary election for delegate in this district, I knocked on thousands of doors for months, even in the rain and the snow, and that one strange day that was so windy that everything was canceled. Despite my runner-up finish, I'll forever be thankful for the team of District 15 residents that threw their support behind me with phone banking, canvassing, and getting out the vote. Building a campaign from scratch, as well as meeting and speaking with District 15 residents to hear about their daily concerns and learn about the issues that were most important to them, was more fulfilling than I could have ever hoped. And I'm so proud of the support that District 15 has given me. I submit my application and I'm here at this forum to honor those 5,289 District 15 residents who believed in me to fight for their best interests in Annapolis. I think that putting faith in those voters by nominating me for the vacancy makes sense. The Central Committee actually has a precedent for tapping runner-up candidates for appointments like these. Delegate David Fraser Hidalgo of District 15 first ran for delegate in this district in 2010, finishing as the runner-up candidate. 3 years later, MCDCC decided to appoint him. As the runner-up candidate in the most recent race for this exact position, and as someone who knocked on those thousands of doors, I hope you will strongly consider my candidacy and affirm the most democratic outcome in this very rushed nomination process. As a former District 15 precinct official and area coordinator who only recently stepped down, thank you so much to all the precinct officials who are here and for all you do for our community.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you. It's been my honor to represent District 15 residents on the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee for these past 3 years. I was elected in 2018 by 10,490 voters in District 15, and I think we have built an even bigger group of supporters since then. It's also been a privilege and a joy to get to know the precinct leaders in this district and to work with you during this very difficult time. We just came through this very difficult pandemic, very difficult time in our district, in our county, and in our country. But this really isn't about I, it's about we. This has to be about we. We have built a community of Democrats across District 15 and the county who have seen how, when we work together, we can accomplish big things. This is the kind of leadership we need. This is the kind of inclusiveness we need. And this is the kind of representation that I will bring on your behalf for us at the General Assembly. This is who I am. My life's work has been as a union representative, a leader in the nonprofit sector, and as the leader of the County Democratic Party. And my focus has never changed. It's always been on we. How can we make things better? That's how we build coalitions. That's how we get things done. The results from the Montgomery County Democratic Party and here in District 15, the results that we have produced speak for themselves. So with your help, we, you and I, and all the residents of District 16 will go to Annapolis and maintain and improve the quality of life that we know so well here in District 15. I'm going to say that I will look forward to joining a great team that's already in Annapolis with Senator Brian Feldman, Delegate Lily Chee, and Delegate Fraser Hidalgo. And I see really great things for all of us as we go forward into the future. Thank you very much for listening tonight. Thank you very much for your attention and for your support that I hope we have going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Saqib.
Hi, can you hear me? So I just want to take a moment to speak directly to the members of the MCDCC that are on this Zoom call right now. Now, you've seen the endorsements. You saw that I was endorsed by the Montgomery County Muslim Council, and you've seen that Linda has been endorsed by some labor unions. And, frankly, those are expected endorsements because Linda comes out of the labor community and I come out of the Muslim community. And frankly, if one of us hadn't gotten those endorsements, it would be kind of surprising. But we did. And now you're in a position, now the labor community is asking you to do one thing, and the Muslim community is asking you to do different. And you're in the position to decide what to do. So when you're making that decision, ask yourself this. Ask yourself this about the labor community. Are there friends and supporters of the labor community in our government at any level? And the answer is yes, there are many. At the county level, at the state level, in Congress, even the president is a friend of organized labor. Now, ask the same question about the Muslim community. Are there Muslim elected officials? And the answer is no. There are zero at any level from Montgomery County, all the way up. So you can think of this, let me put it a different way. Suppose you had a piece of pie, okay? You had one piece of pie, but you had two really good friends asking you for that piece of pie. Now, one of them was healthy and normal, and one of them was starving and skinny. Who would you give the pie to? I know my answer. It's quite obvious. So I ask for your vote on November 30th. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of the candidates for giving your time and your effort. The public arena is a challenging one, and I hope all of you find a place in it. Thank you to all of you who attended, and I hope this helped you along the way to make a decision about who to support. Good night and good luck.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Check your mailbox.